Hello, hello, hello. We are making a video, Papa and I. And I made this formation that is part of my story that I'm telling. So I left off with the raw food vegan cult in Santa Monica was talking about the God guy and the Jesus guy. And the God guy during the dinner, he told everyone, he kind of threatened us. He said, "You better not talk negativity." He said, "Shall we all not," he worded it somehow guru-esque like, uh, "may we or shall we not talk about any negativity and no negativity." So then when we weren't talking about negativity at all, we were trying to have a positive conversation with the girls there and everything. And then as Paul and I were checking out, we were standing in the doorway and by the front door still talking to my friend Hillary, the artist. And Paul was talking to her about something, and the God guy rushed over, and he didn't want Paul to talk to Hillary because he had a crush on Hillary. So he started to pitch into the conversation very aggressively and started preaching religion to us. So Paul said to him, "The God that you're talking about, is that Jesus Christ? You mean Jesus Christ?" Revealing him, as having brought his evangelical upbringing into his cult. So besides meditation and other things, so he mixed it all up. But his God was apparently still the Christian God. He didn't know what to say because it was spot on, it was the truth. And he felt embarrassed, he felt exposed to Hillary, the artist, whom he wanted to impress. So he started to attack Paul. He started to change the subject, that's what they often do, which is extreme intellectual dishonesty and double standard. And the double standard was the worst part of all. He started attacked Paul and he accused him of being German. He must have heard my accent. And then he thought we were both German or something. And Paul said, "No, I'm not German, but Nicola is German." And so then he started to preach to us how bad the Germans are and what Adolf Hitler and kept on and on and on. And then he talked about the Holocaust, and he rode himself more and more and more into a rage because his ego was hurt, because Paul obviously exposed him to. And then, instead of getting angry, he should have said, "Yes, it's Jesus Christ. I love Jesus Christ." Why couldn't he say that, right? No, he couldn't say it. He was embarrassed about it. That's why also what I noticed was a lot of Christians, they're embarrassed about it. And still they're clinging to it with hands and feet at the same time. What is this? Why? Yeah. You're either embarrassed about it and then you walk off. If you're embarrassed about your religion, then go find a better one. Or, why do you cling to it? And if you cling to it, then why not stand up for it and say, "Yes, I am dorky old Christian," or whatever, "Yes, I am still old school." Yeah. Admit it. I mean, why not admit it then? What is this with this intellectual dishonesty always? So then he got more and more and more into the rage, talked more and more about the Holocaust, which had nothing to do with the original subject. And we didn't say anything anymore. We just stood there observing him. And then other girls were coming to the conversation. They were also starting to sign out of that evening. And so the God guy started to talk about the butchering, and butchering and butchering, the butchering, constantly saying the butchering, and the Nazis had did the butchering. And then this girl was coming also towards us, and she said, butchering, butchering, what's going on here? She said to me when we were stepping further outside away from the God guy. And she said, butchering, that doesn't sound very positive. And I thought, no, it doesn't. And it is a totally double standard. But I didn't say anything because I was afraid. I was actually afraid of that God guy. I was afraid because my feelings, my fear of my grandfather was somehow triggered. And my grandfather had that same volatile ego and anger. And I was really afraid. We needed to go. And so then we finally left. And oh yeah, and then the God guy also tried to tell me that I need to leave Paul, and that it is my own fault that I'm there, that I'm miserable or something. He didn't even know anything about me. I wasn't miserable when we came there first. I started to become a bit miserable in the end because my anger started to come up, but I didn't say anything. So I'm sure that he picked up on my anger slowly emerging up, but I was still intimidated. So it was like an internal battle going on. It takes a while until there's a pivot point. I am in this harmony mode for a long time when I'm around other people, but at some point it shifts and the anger will take over. So, but it didn't happen while we were there. The anger finally took over during the course of the evening when I was back at home. But we were still talking about this, and then as night came and we were trying to sleep, I couldn't sleep at all, and I noticed how the anger was churning up inside of me, and I was still not, and I wasn't releasing it. There was no release of that anger. So I finally went to sleep on the couch in the living room, because the couch gave me some kind of padding from two sides, like being cradled. I needed that, but that didn't work either. The anger had already escalated to the point where I actually needed to go into a primal room and scream it out, but I didn't have a primal room there. And during that time, I had a lot of migraine headaches that had mainly to do with the withdrawal from the pharmaceutical drugs. They told me that it doesn't make you addicted. Yes, it does. It doesn't cause you craving, but your body becomes habituated with this and doesn't create its own endorphin system. It doesn't have its own endorphin release anymore. So this is very dangerous. And I was on these really hardcore, awful drugs like Risperdal, Zyprexa, and Seroquel, and Zoloft, and Paxil, and many different types. Some of them are really, really, really heavy duty. And it's really awful. Also, I tried to commit suicide with those in 2003, which didn't work because they are designed to not be lethal. But obviously, they can put you into a coma, which happened with me. It's really awful, this whole story. Really, really, really sad. But so at that point, I had found out about Dr. Scholes from a massage therapist girl, and I was withdrawing from the pharma drugs. I think that was my second attempt at withdrawing. My first attempt failed, and I got really scared, and I went back on medication. And so the second attempt worked, and I knew that I just had to tough it out this time, no matter how long it took. It took like half a year to get out of these withdrawal symptoms that were extreme, with migraine headaches and with all the symptoms that I went to the psychiatrist for, and all the OCD stuff, the fear and all of this got so extreme and exaggerated. And so, but I toughed it out, and I had these migraine headaches. And then also, in addition, I had started the animal rights activism and environmental activism on a much more with much more momentum. I had always been doing this sporadically, but I'd really gotten into it during that time because of Paul and his cousin Kenny. So I saw what was happening in the world. It was making me very angry also, and so I had a lot of anger. I was hardcore atheist. I was running away from metaphysics and all of this. And it is not a good mental state to be hating, to be in a perpetuated state of hate against someone or against many. So that all was terrible. And then that encounter with that God guy exaggerated that situation. And I already had been suffering for so many nights with migraine headaches, and they always got really bad during PMS, close to the period. And so on the day of when the period starts, this whole spook would vanish, because then the cycle will start up again. So, but like my severe migraine headaches during PMS, I also got that from my grandmother, the tendency for this. But you have, in order to make something that is genetic actually break out and become active, there has to be also a specific environmental circumstance that brings that on. So both of these factors were playing into it, genetics and environmental situation and the withdrawal from all the drugs. So that made me a very cranky PMSer. And so I think it was that very night where in the early morning hours, I had not been able to sleep. I was thinking about that God guy. I wanted to go over there and smack him in the face. I felt like going there and beating him up, but I didn't do this, of course. I mean, I wouldn't do anyone any good. It would just cause me a lot of problems. So, and I didn't know where to go with this anger. It's good to have a primal room, a soundproof room in which you can go and where you can really vent that out, and where you can scream it out and even pound the pillow if the momentum has gotten to that state. So we don't want to get into that state in the first place. So we have to try to avoid that, try to stay out of overwhelm, as Tony Robbins said. That's better. But once you get to that space, that momentum place, in your head, then you have to find a way to safely let that out. And it's really good to have a primal room for this. So I didn't, and I didn't know what to do. And the migraine was getting really, really severe, and it was pounding inside of my head, and with high blood pressure and pounding anger in my skull, and there's no release. It was really, really awful. And so at some point in the morning hours, I went back to bed, and I sat in bed in a meditation position. And I just sat there, and I went into a meditation. I didn't really know whether this was a meditation or not, but it was. And I sat into the air. as an atheist. I said into the room, please help me. I can't deal with this anymore. Please help me make this migraine go away. And now comes this in. A blue, but it was transparent. This is not transparent. A blue jello-like hand, more like the putty, the transparent putty that I have, like a slime putty, but more like a, it had about this shape, and it had the consistency of light blue transparent pudding, so like a jello, but it was firm, but then it was firm, it was flexible, it was jello-like, it was like a sea creature, but it was also firm at the same time. This hand, a hand in this shape, came to me, and it was ghost-like, sort of, and it reached into my brain, and it started to do this here in my brain. I can't do this with this, you know. You can imagine this doing this. Inside of my brain, it was just doing this the whole time. I let it do it for like 10 minutes. And as it was doing it, it was repairing my brain. And after I came out of that meditation, I still had the headaches, but they were starting to let off a little bit. And 10 minutes later, I was completely free from headaches. I had no more pain at all. And I was really calm. So this was a very amazing metaphysical experience. It wasn't a hallucination. It's hard to explain. It was a vision. That's what it was. It was like a migraine vision, like Hildegard von Bingen had, something like this. But just very futuristic and a very modern blue hand reached into my brain. And so it was just a hand, but I started to paint this hand, I started to sculpt it, I started to make artwork about it, and out of this hand grew these figures, the blue god in dog form and the blue god in human form. Here I show you. This here is the blue god in human form, this yellow thing. Here's the hand. So that's the blue god in human form in yellow, this one. And I've painted this many times. So many times. I can't count it anymore. So this is the subject of my artwork. The blue god in dog form and in human form as well. So this is the blue god, you know, and the blue god is blue and sky blue and the infinite cosmos. And that's where it started. And I was no longer an atheist, of course. I was never really an atheist. But I wasn't trying to be an atheist anymore. I just acknowledged right then and there, okay, there's a lot more going on. And if you ask for help, you will receive help. You know, if you honestly knock on the door will open. If you send out a prayer to the infinite cosmos, your prayer will be answered if it is a very sincere prayer. So, and it doesn't require a Bible, it doesn't require a scripture, it doesn't require a mantra or any kind of religious type of activity or any kind of puja or any kind of religious ceremony or bells or teas or incenses or whatever. It doesn't require anything. It just requires a sincere plea to the infinite cosmos and say, please help me. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it. I don't want to suffer anymore. And you don't do anything. You just let it completely go. You surrender, completely surrender to that question and to that plea and to that petition to the infinite cosmos, or just to the room, just like that, to that what is, to the now. That is all the infinite cosmos. That's all the blue God. So, and then I started to go on vigorously onto my healing journey. I went to all kinds of seminars. I went to an event that was so amazing. I was petitioning for the whales in LA, and the lady came to sign my petition, and she said, we have this event tomorrow at the Masonic Temple, and we're just renting a room there. We're not part of the Masonic Temple, but we're renting a room there for a metaphysical event. And I had heard about the Masonic Temple and from the conspiracy guys, and I had read books by Jim Marrs and, the Freemasons, it's a horrible and all of this. And for some reason, I don't work that way. I can't be biased by a book or by someone into something, or I don't know why they're saying this really. They didn't give a real concrete reason, They're just trying to debunk certain groups and people. I am against religion. I'm against any kind of cult. So that's why I would never be part of something like the Freemasons or Skull of Bones or Illuminati or any group, any kind of group. But I'm not so quick to say, oh, they must be bad because Jim Marrs said they are bad. So no, that's not good enough for me. So, and because of this, the lady seemed nice. It sounded nice. She said, there are the messengers of light. They're coming. They're coming from Brazil, and they're giving a session. Why don't you come and attend? It costs, I think, was like $30 per person. And I said, okay. And she said, bring a bottle of water. That's very important. The water is going to be energized. And that's another thing. This is so many things that tie into that, into that particular year, 2003. That was a year of such massive cascading events, one thing after another. There at that time there was a dog illness happening, where dogs were experiencing a form of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is called mad cow disease. And the entire corporate agenda, all the people that were all tied in with this, veterinarians, dog food manufacturers, they were all silencing this entire thing. It was reported on by the news because a lot of people reported about this, but they reported on this for a few seconds and then brought something else up and completely washed over it. So that they can say, yes, we covered it, so for 3 seconds. So, and no one wanted to talk about it. No veterinarian wanted to talk about it. Our dogs, Ludwig and Samantha, had this mysterious, they called it the mysterious dog illness. It wasn't mysterious. I researched this very, very thoroughly, and it turns out that it was a dog version form of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, mad cow disease. and the dogs got it from the dog food. You know, it was Nutra nuggets that we were giving them. So don't buy that company's dog food. You know, so there. I recommend to people to go to the website of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They have two lists in particular that are very important. The one list is all the bad dog food manufacturers, you know, where the dogs are being exploited, where they have subcontracting companies that and laboratories that test on cats and dogs, cruel tests, metabolic tests in the lab, in cages. It's absolutely horrific. And also the dog foods that are all affected with this mad cow disease, with bad ingredients and all of this, because they just buy the meat in bulk from rendering plants and from, you know, where everything ends up, including the mad cow diseased cows. And that that whole prion protein that was that evolved from that evolved to cause this illness, you know, where they have internal shocks and internal little seizures and stuff like this. Some cows, they were falling over, they couldn't even walk anymore. And our dogs, they had these internal shocks, they were terrified, they didn't even dare to drink water. And it was absolutely awful. It was such a nightmare that we were going through during that year. And Ludwig was old. That caused him permanent hip damage. His body was going sideways. He was walking sideways. He couldn't even walk straight anymore. It was absolutely horrific. Already had problems, and that made it a whole lot worse. It was so terrible. That went on for like 2 or 3 weeks with these intense internal shocks, and no veterinarian. They were all acting secretive, and it was so bad. It went so much on my nerves. So I researched all of this vigorously on the internet, and so this is what I found. I found this is indeed the prion protein, and that is affecting dogs. So it may be exactly the same one, or it may be a different version that works for dogs, or I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but I think it is the same exact protein, the same prion protein, which latches on to the neurons in the brain, can cause motor dysfunction, and it can cause all kinds of problems. So, can cause disruptions in the vegetative nervous system. It might even cause the heart to stop. So it was really serious. So when I went to the Messengers of Light, there was this lady Fatima, wonderful, amazing woman, and she was the one who was running this group, and I think with her husband together, and then there were a couple of other women, and they would go around in a circle, and they were playing the music by Enya. And it was that's how I first came across. I think I first heard her music in Beverly Hills in a store, and then I remembered that music in the Messengers of Light, what they were playing from their stereo, and it was very beautiful. It matched the atmosphere. It was very ethereal and very godlike. Enya is a god level soul, and so it was amazing. It was really amazing what it did to my nervous system. And while we were getting this energy healing, and then Fatima, she came over and she did some work on my brain, and she finally hugged me and kissed me on the forehead, and she said, "You're gonna be okay." And it was so good for me to hear. It was so important. It was so sweet of her. She was so all encompassing and loving and completely open to everything. It was so amazing for me to see that. And the guy, I think her husband, at the end, when we were coming to a closure, when everyone had their, when there were two groups that were being treated, they didn't have enough tables, so each person was lying down on the table in a circle. And at the end, he said that his main observation was, because we were all like, most of these women were much older than me, and I don't think there was a man in that group. Just most of them were middle-aged women, and then myself, I was in my 30s, and the teenage daughter of one of the ladies who were doing the energy healing. And so the guy, he said that what he observed was that most most people that are in that group do not like themselves. They actually dislike themselves, and they feel very uncomfortable about being themselves. And it's so sad. This is making me so sad, you know. And this is also what I observe in people, you know, when I talk to people. This seems to be really happening on a vast scale. Seems to be the case with almost all people, and with particularly with women. And it's very sad. It's extremely sad. And so during these healing sessions, the water was standing on a on a pedestal in the front and surrounded by flower bouquets, and next to that stereo sound recorder. And the water was vibrating, actually. I don't know, because of the music or because of the energy that was in the room. So at the end, we all picked up our water bottle, and I just, in my intuition, said, give some of that water to the dogs. So I put some of the water, like a couple of ounces of it every day, into the dog's water bowl, and they were drinking from the water. And as soon as they were drinking from the water, the that those symptoms from the mad cow disease were starting to go slowly away. Every day it got better and better and better and better, drastically better, and it was directly coinciding with them drinking that water, that energized water. It was very interesting for me to see. So all of these things then told me that there's so much more. And then I went more further and further onto my healing quest, and researching and finding people, talking to people, and going to healing sessions, and it was amazing. And all of these people helped me, and all of these approaches helped me, and confirmed what I've always known, that there is more, but I have been hiding from it. So, and most of all, this blue hand has come into my life. The blue God reached out literally with his hand and reached into my brain. And then later on, I researched blue God. I came to, with my search, to the Indian gods, of course, and I saw a lot of bluish Indian gods. And there I found him. There he was. And I didn't even know about him. I didn't know. Lord Vishnu. Okay. Lord Vishnu, the blue god. So that's him. So he comes in all kinds of different shapes, and he's found in in this ancient tradition with the ancient drawings, but he is also there in modern form right now. He is there everywhere. He is the infinite cosmos. And then I realized that Jiddu Krishnamurti was the embodiment of the infinite cosmos, of the blue God. And I know a lot of people are probably gonna sign out of the video now, but I can see these incarnations. I can feel it very clearly. There are a lot of souls that have that aura already, that very deep dark aura. And a psychic on Facebook told me that I come from the blue beings, so I think I have that aura as well, and it feels like it. So when I watch my videos, I can, or see photos, I can see that definitely, that there is this color as well. So maybe not as brilliant as in some other people like TS1, but I am going in that direction, definitely going in that direction. I'm an indigo, you know, indigo is already, it's, the name comes from that color. Indigos have it very, very hard, very hard. They are in this transitional state, they are in the transition tunnel, as I call it, but I found a better word, the ego dissolution funnel, which is a better term for it. So we can use both terms, but that's what it is. It is a, that entire lifetime is dedicated to this learning process, you know, and this, and it's a very, very hard process, very painful. Yes, I'm upstairs. Papa is upstairs. I got the grass for you. There's a whole lot of dog mess and I ran over some of it. Okay, I will clean it up. Okay. Thank you. I'm making a video right now. Okay, but thank you. I will work in the garden today. So yeah. My husband is extremely hard at hearing. He's so hard at hearing that if I'm standing next to him, like if I stand 10 feet away from him or even 8 feet away from him and I talk normally, he doesn't even know I said anything. That's how hard at hearing he is. It's very, very sad to be affected with these crippling health problems. Very harsh. So a lot going on outside today. So yeah, so this is the hand of Lord Vishnu, the blue god, the infinite cosmos, and it's very cute and very beautiful, and it saved my life, and it confirmed that I don't have to be afraid of the metaphysical, you know, that everything is good, and that we are the creators of our own lives. We can make it happen. We can transform the fear and the trauma from the past into valuable, very helpful knowledge that we can use to make things better. We know the knowledge is these things have happened, they are terrible, and they are negative and needs to come to the surface. We need to talk about it. It's very important. And as we talk about it and as we meditate on it and as we allow that to be, the tears will come. Our bodies will flow with that. And for the first time in life, we express itself in the flow of allowing that what is. And not be afraid. Don't be afraid of this. And when you let this flow and the tears flow and all of this, men and women, equally much, then it will heal. Then that is the very healing process. So we can do it, you know. And I want all living beings to be safe and freed from any kind of harsh situation. let's together save all living beings and make them feel healthy and make them totally healthy and make them happy and make them relaxed and make them feel loved. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye.